I couldn't believe that I did it. So that's just one of the fun stories, but I kind of gave up golf 2 years ago because I had a accident in Italy. Of course, if I'm going to have an accident, I'm going to do it in a romantic place. And all that, and I was really hospitalized for quite a long time, and I know that Vic and Jan took me out to brunch one day. They had to pick me up at the nursing center or wherever I was at that time, and which meant a lot to me and all that. So, and I haven't gone back to it, and I don't think I will because I have the nice memories of it.
Well, I know you're a good golfer because
past tense.
Yeah, well, but what was your handicap?
Ironically, right after Rand died, I bought a new set of clubs, and for some reason, for 2 years, I played well. I mean, I would break 90 quite a lot, and all that. I think I got down to maybe a 16.
That's outstanding.
Which is pretty good, yeah.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, you know, maybe, then it didn't last.
Well, that's okay.
But I have the memories, you know, and all that. And then I was usually around a 20, 22, 23 something. And just prior to my accident, I kind of lost interest. So the accident came at a good time and gave me a good excuse to say, can't play anymore, you know, so.
Tell me some about some of the ladies that you played with and some of the stories that went with the group.
Oh, at the beginning, one of my buddies was Nancy Periano.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we drank more than we played golf.
Okay.
And I mean, we'd go to parties with Chuck, and I mean, I went to all the kids' weddings and all that kind of stuff. And then Lois Groya was another one. She was a great gal, and she too has passed, et cetera, too. But Lois was, unfortunately, kind of blind, not totally. And so if you're playing with Lois, and she would have been, I think, the best golfer out here had her eyesight not failed. But you'd have to tell her where the flag was on the green, et cetera. But she was great. And then Nancy Miller, you know,
Sure.
and there were, I'm just trying to think of so many people. And there, you know, when I finally broke into Class A out here, there was Betty Oakley, Ann Stouffer, Angie Shepard, Jane Corrigan, you know, all the good A player, Ruthie Davis, et cetera. So, and I was dying for some of these gals to ask me to play golf because then I would think, hey, I finally arrived and everything. Some were a little reticent about asking because it got a little, you know, but at any rate, you know, we finally broke the barrier and people would say, hey, Lois, do you have a game Tuesday or Thursday or whatever have you? So those are the gals, yeah.
Good, good. Did you play in any tournaments with Randy as couples or?
Sometimes couples. You know, Randy was extremely competitive.
Yes. Yes.
He had to be in order to put up with me, you know. But at any rate, I don't think Rand, when he played golf or played tennis, that he ever went out thinking he couldn't win. He had that type of personality. I mean, he just said, I know I can beat him. I know I can beat him and all. And I think, as I said, I'm not that competitive, although people tell me I am, but I don't think so, because to me, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, I just want to do the best that I can for me, not to show the world that, geez, you know, this type of thing. But Rand, you know, he loved the game, and he'd carried his own bag, and at the age of, I'm trying to think, 65, he won Class B golf, Class B tennis, and he'd carry his own bag. So that's, I mean, he was, and frankly, when he'd come home from work, you know, dinner was on the table, he'd come right out to the club, which made our marriage happy. Yeah, right,
Good. Were there numbers of social events that you maybe remember, any specifics that?
You know, I think when I first came out here, you know, and Rand and I were just married, there were a lot of social events and people came. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was always groups, their friends that they made through the club, et cetera, and we did too. And I'm just trying to think of the two locker room gals. They played the horses because you'd see them with the race sheet, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I can't think of their names now. But, you know, it was the day when, you know, if we'd play the whack-in snacks.
Yes.
And those were the days when you'd bring some extra clothing out and you'd shower after playing 9 holes of golf, and we'd start drinking in the ladies' locker room. That sounds like we were really a bunch of alcoholics, but pretty close. And then, there was dancing and all, and we usually always came to the luau, which was extremely popular, clam bakes. So those were the things and all, so that we did. I think financially and socially, we did support the club.
Good. Any real things that sort of you'd like to see somebody or something that had been changed, or the goods and the bad type of thing?
Oh.
There's lots of good things, and there's things you'd say, they should have never planted that tree in that spot or whatever. How about that?
Yeah, that never bothered me. I can tell you some people who did, but I won't mention their names. I think something that bothered me most was when I first came out here, it was a male-dominated club. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't see why women were treated as second-class citizens, and they were. I mean, we were regulated on the golf course. I guess right now still to some extent, but it's loosened up. At that time, the single ladies who had lost their husbands had to follow the field on Sundays. They could not get a starting time until all the couples were there. I thought that was atrocious. That's really the truth. And there was just things like that. And I have found, and I really wish that this would go in, that women sometimes are their own worst enemies. Well, my husband works really hard, and brings the money in, so why shouldn't he do it? But then they'd complain about the restrictions placed on them. I said, well, why don't you say something? Well, my husband wouldn't say this. Oh, yes, he would behind your back, I mean, it's an amazing thing. You get guys out on the golf course, and some were still in the recently that didn't really like women on the golf course, And why do they have to be there? And I mean, some of the women I know play faster than the guys do, etc. But that is the thing that I dislike most about a country club. And to me, a country club is like having insurance. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Mm-hmm. So I'm at this point of my life, I'm a life member, which is great financially, etc. And I'm old enough where I think that they'll say, well, she's a little different, but she's getting older.
What you really do is you tell it like it is.
Yeah, I think so.
And you don't have to mask it or
right.
Say, well, they may get angry about this, so you just speak your mind.
Well, I think I always have, haven't I, Vic?
I think you've been right there all the
time. Yeah.
You'd say, hey, this is what I think.
Yeah.
Like it or not. And,
right.
And that's very, very important, because it's like anything else. If you are running a company or a service and there are things that are wrong and no one tells you, you can't fix it.
Exactly.
So I think it's the old story that it's the squeak that gets the oil. So
mm-hmm.
bring these things up. They may not be solved immediately, but at least they're on top of the table. So you can get these things changed around so they are better. And that's part of life. It's in marriage,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like you when we go to bed. You snore all the time.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. I know.
Speaking of that, one time Ran and I got into it. He said, Lois, how can you do this? Those are my friends. I said, but it's not fair, and all that. And I remember one time we're standing in our kitchen, and he looked at me and he said, Lois, I used to go out to Lakewood Country Club, and people would say, oh, there's Randy Palmer. He said, now I go out to Lakewood Country Club, and they say, there's Lois's husband, Randy. I said, that's the way it should be. So, at any rate, and then one time, too, he was like, and we'd get into some of these really crazy things, and he'd go, you know what, he'd call himself the foreman. And I'd say, well, okay, I'm the owner. Or the president or something like that too. And then he'd say, well, if you didn't have any money, you'd do what I told you to. I said, you know what? If I didn't have my own money, I would have to do what you told me. Now I do it out of choice, which I thought was pretty good. Yeah, how about that?
It's called independence.
Yeah, exactly. And I am an independent person. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right.
That's great, because you know where you are. You don't have to be shy about it. You know, it's just like, I guess, when you're 6 or under or 60 or older, you just, our Art Linkletter always, with those young kids, he loved to talk to them because they told him exactly what they felt like.
Right.
Children 6 or under. And then as you age, and I mean, what do you have to lose? But you're just telling them what your opinion is. And
Yeah,
people sometimes hide that, and so that's.
But I also think that you have to be receptive to other people. I don't, all my life, I think I did this, or at least when I was aware of it, let's put it that way. But one example, and I don't know who it was, but it was between marriages, and I was working for the advertising agency. And I was that day I was taking the bus, and I had to be at the bus stop. So I remember I was in a bad mood, which normally I'm not in a bad mood when I get up in the morning, but occasionally I am, and when I am, don't bother me, you know. But at any rate, so I'm walking to the bus stop, and I'm kind of bitching or doing, you know, whatever have you. And this woman was at an intersection, and she stopped the car to let me walk by, and she smiled at me. Now, why do I remember that? Because just like that, my mood changed. Which I thought was a good lesson to learn. And I mean, I've always tried to smile at people. I don't care what's going on or whatever have you, because of that one lady, because how she changed my mood.
Yeah.
It's true.
Interesting.
True story.
Any other individuals like that in cars, or that?
Oh, no, no, no. Oh, I remember a bus driver when I'm on a bus and I'm singing, driving and all that, and he's looking at me and he's laughing, and then I look at him laughing. Now, he's in a big truck and all that. We're probably on the shoreway or something, too. Yeah. You know, I don't try to judge myself or to make something or self-diagnose myself. I am what I am. And I don't think I go around hurting too many people's feelings and all, so.
Fine.
But if I find something, then I stick to it, and if I think I'm right, I really stick to it, so.
So what are you doing in these holidays now, Christmas time?
Oh, this week was going to be great because I had something going on every day, but slowly but surely it's being canceled. Luncheon today, I don't know about tomorrow or whatever have you. But Christmas Eve, we go to my son's and his wife's home in Fairlawn.
Oh.
And my grandsons will be there, great-grandson. And so it's a nice family affair. And then on Christmas Day, my sister and I go to our cousins in Highland Heights. And that has been, we've done that ever since Ran has died, et cetera, too, so.
So the family
Yeah.
tradition for.
Oh, yeah,
Christmas,
yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
Eve.
And it's a great thing, too,
It's
so.
family.
Right.
It's wonderful. That's great.
And I have to say this because Vic is here. He's got the best grandchildren. I mean, they are so, and your son, they're just a nice, well, the whole family is great.
Thank you.
And I'm not trying to butter you up, but you know how I feel, so.
There's no payment in what we're doing.
I know.
Oh, good.
Well, we've got to get this guy in front of the camera one of these days, and maybe I could have you at my side.
Oh, boy, you drilled me dead.
That's good.
Oh.
Is that it then?
Just
No.
a couple other quick questions,
Okay.
Lois. As you think back on the times out here, any particular members and families that stick out as far as big personalities or people you enjoyed being with out here at the club? And
You know, I have to say Bill and Kathy Bartell have always, and most people feel this way, they've been good friends. And, you know, in fact, it's like I came out to the clam bake with them, this past clam bake, and Bill's picking up the whole tab. But he's always doing things like that. And I just looked at both he and Kathy, and I said, you know what, if you continue to do this, you're going to have to adopt me. Because I'm not going to allow this to happen, because I've talked to the waitresses, don't give him the bill, I want to pay for my own way. You know, it's not like I'm poor or something like that. But other than that, they're really great friends. It's not for me, but I've seen what they've done for other people. They have done a lot for people, so, and that's it. And I think they really stopped. And then Chuck and Sue Cheney. And Chuck, you know, I remember the first time I met him going, oh, he has just been the sweetest guy on 2 feet. He just really, in fact, when we go to church and everything, I always give him a kiss and people think that we're a pair, you know. And yeah. And then the Perianos, we did really run around with them a lot at the beginning and all that. And then times change, so. And other couples, I'm sure that there's more, but.
Any favorite employees or managers
Lots.
out here that
Lots.
you want to reminisce about? Or?
I remember Bonnie for some reason being in the halfway house, but I'm just, again, it's my age and names and everything elude me. I think Brian, our past manager, was great.